welcome back to the Magical Mystery School, and thank you so much for joining us for June 11th, full moon, 12:44 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time at 20 degrees Sagittarius and 29 minutes. So we're going to have the moon sitting up here in Sag, okay, and that's the last 10 degrees, the decan of last 10 of Sagittarius, and of course, a full moon is always, the sun and the moon are always directly opposite one another. So the sun's going to be down here at 20 degrees Gemini. But we got a lot of action to talk about before we get to June 11th. That's kind of at the very end, basically. But first off, how did that last week of May go for everybody? Remember we were talking about, we had Mercury down here just going into Gemini, and it was sextiling Saturn and Neptune, and then it trine Pluto, and last but not least, it conjunct the sun on May 30th. Well, I think what we were seeing is, well, with the tariff saga continues, right? You know, one court stopped them, another court suspended that decision for 2 weeks. So either way, it's going to go up to the Supreme. So that's been that, you know, Gemini back and forth, back and forth. You know, here's the tarot key for Gemini, and as you can see, they're always conversing back and forth. And here's the glyph, and I think you can really see from the card here how we got the two figures standing there, and then we've got Raphael, and we have the earth connecting them both. So you can kind of see how the glyphs and the cards do kind of speak to each other. But anyway, so we've had this back and forth, back and forth. And the other thing that was kind of interesting, Mr. Muskrat, and I should, for entertainment only, he was somewhat exposed about his drug use. Okay, so that's a perfect, the New York Times came out with a story on that. And he's also, he's leaving, supposedly, we'll see, the White House working. And he took one of the advisor's wives with him, so that was a little strange. And then on when they had the going away bye-bye for Mr. Muskrat, he came in with a black eye, which was a little weird. So the truth is coming out. Maybe he just fell down in a drug stupor or something like that. But I think the truth is coming out there. And then, of course, the big, huge news was this Ukraine attack. I mean, wasn't that amazing? And I can see how maybe they were going, you know, dotting all their I's, crossing their T's, you know, thinking, you know, can we get away with this? Oh, my God, you know, is Neptune going to help us? And then deciding everything. And I can see how that Friday night when these two conjuncted, they said, finally, they said, okay, this is it. We're going to do it. And off they went. And I think, and if you've heard anything about this attack, it's just, I mean, like a bunch of Ukrainian ops, they started a company in Russia that most of it was truck moving things around with trucks. So that's how they were able to smuggle in all these drones. And just, I think it was also really interesting, the drones were short-range drones, and that's exactly what Mercury would rule. Remember, it's short trips around town, it's technology, all that kind of stuff. And I guess they had them on these trucks. They parked these trucks like very close, very Mercury, to the airfields, and one naval, where they keep their nuclear submarines, they also did that too. Attack that too. But you can just imagine, you know, these trucks, they just parked them near these airfields, and then remotely controlled, they opened these plywood boxes they had on the trucks, and the drones flew out and did their job. So pretty amazing, that's for sure. Oh, and the other thing, I kept hearing, you know, this is 84 years, almost to the day, when the Nazis invaded Russia, or the Soviet Union. Because remember, Stalin made a peace agreement with Hitler, but, oh, gosh, what a surprise. Hitler invaded Stalin when it suited him, even though he had a peace agreement. But for all of you astrologers out there, when anybody says, "Oh, it happened 84 years ago," what do you first think? That's the cycle of Uranus. It takes 84 years for it to get all the way around the wheel. And it's hanging out here pretty late degrees Taurus. It's going to go into Gemini in July. So I'm sure there's something, repetitive there for sure with that aspect. 84 years ago was the last time the Soviet Union or / Russia was invaded with this much ferocity, excuse me. Now, one of the reasons why I kind of like to use politics and these environmental disasters and things like that is just because more of us maybe have heard about it or have a connection to it. I don't watch I watch a lot of news, plenty of news, I should say, but I don't watch, like, I guess they call it corporate news now. I'm more like into Midas Touch, and I watch a YouTube channel called Inside Russia, and I actually watch Ukrainian news for this kind of story especially. Now, I'm recording this before June 4th, and that was another one of those 2 days, June 4th and 5th. I told you all to circle on your calendars because Mercury was sextiling, or is sextiling, Mars, which is still in Leo here after its long retrograde in Cancer. But then we've got a nice sextile here, and we had a really nice sextile with Venus, who's at this time on the 4th of June is still in Aries, but it's going to sextile Jupiter down here at like 29 degrees Cancer. It's just about ready to go into Cancer itself. So we had a really nice little, air, fire, air, fire, sextiles, 2 sextiles going on. So again, if you've got something, if something happened for you, if you, had some surprise thing where you talked too much with Mercury sextiling Mars, did you expect too much with Venus sextiling Jupiter, those 2 benefics? But let us know. Maybe you just had a lot of fun. I hope so. Anyway, also on this June 5th, it was the day that Venus went into Taurus. And I mentioned that last time, but I want to talk about it in a little bit more detail. So Venus, because Venus rules Taurus, so that's going to happen on June 5th at 9:43. And just remember, Taurus is our most sensual of all the signs, I think. It's fixed Earth. I mean, Venus and Taurus, if you know somebody like that, or even if somebody's just got a lot of Taurus in their chart, I mean, they're the kind of person, they want to snuggle up on the couch with a cup of hot chocolate or, maybe some popcorn with their kitties and their puppies, and who knows, maybe even a human being, right? So there's a lot of sensuality going on here. Now, Venus and Taurus, also, Taurus loves a good meal, so eating is good, and nothing better than Cancer loves cooking a good meal. So those of you, that's that sextile energy, that water, earth energy, they tend to really like each other quite a bit. But something else to remember, and before I leave that, Taurus rules the neck and shoulders and even up into the ears. So in a more sensual relationship, just remember to keep those areas of the body in mind. Your partner might really like that. And that's another thing that's wonderful about Taurus energy and Venus energy. Yes, they want to be satisfied. They want sensuality in their lives. But it's equally as important to them to make sure their partner is satisfied and happy and feels good and super important and that sort of thing. So, this is going to be a lot of fun having Venus and Taurus, I think, for sure. Now, the other thing we want to think about too is Scorpio Taurus is our financial axis in the zodiac here. So money will, as well as food, getting to know people, getting involved with people that have a lot of money. We're going to talk about this a little bit later because Venus is going to square Pluto here in a few days. But I'm going to keep that in order. So financial, we may wait, June 5th, we might get some clues about some financial stuff coming up too. But just remember with Taurus and with Scorpio too, but with Taurus for sure, the whole thing about money and the food and all that kind of stuff, it's all about security. Taurus wants to feel secure, like nothing, the rug's not going to get pulled out from under them or anything like that. Okay, now we're going to talk quite a bit about Mercury this time again. Now last time we were doing that because Mercury entered Gemini and the Sun and that Sun conjunction. Well, now we've got Mercury has moved on into Gemini, is in these later degrees now, so that it's going to conjunct Jupiter here, and then off it's going to go, but then Jupiter is going to follow all the aspects that Mercury's going to be making in just a few days. And the Jupiter aspects are huge. That is for sure. Okay, so the days that are really huge are coming up to this June 8th and then into June 9th. And let me just show you this. I was kind of showing you some of this, but it was so obvious here. This is just a Llewellyn calendar, and it's showing, this day only one aspect, this day one aspect. And there's quite a few days that have pretty big piles of aspect when the moon's changing signs. But look at this on June 9th. We've got a double column of activity. So lots is happening on June 9th. Just get prepared. So first off, let's see. So on June 8th, though, Mercury and Jupiter do conjunct at 29 degrees, 45 minutes of Gemini. So it's only 15 minutes away until they hit this. This is still the world axis here. Now, this is not our primordial point at 0 Aries, but it's still on the vertical of that world axis. So it's super important, a cardinal sign. Okay, so we're going to get some bells here. I think I will just talk through them, though. So whenever we see Mercury and Jupiter together, we always think, oh, there could be some exaggerations here, because we think we have the greatest idea in the world and that it's super amazing, right? Well, this is just like, so we might have too much, belief in ourselves almost in a way. And we're just blowing things out of proportion. So just watch out that you can be like that as well as other people. And then just 3 hours later, Mercury goes into Cancer. All right. Now this is going to take our mental functioning more out of, this is mutable air. This is cardinal water. So we're going to be a lot more emotional about our thinking. We're going to be more empathetic, more compassion, and more solid, more focused, more cardinal, being a little bit more have a plan going forward, that sort of thing. Now, Mercury's only in Cancer until June 27th, only 19 days. So it's going to be going through really quickly. But just remember, you'll be becoming more aware of your own emotional issues and that type of thing. Okay. So look for where is Cancer. Now here's the glyph for Cancer. So look for this in your chart and see if you can find it and find out what house is being activated. Now, in my Astrology for Beginners, I have some classes on houses, and I hope you guys start to look at those. Lesson 3, I'm looking here on my list here, lesson 7, and lesson 12, 3, 7, and 12. You might look at those videos and see if that can help you with the house placements here. Okay, let's see. Okay, and with Mercury going into Cancer, of course, this will make the home, our families, a much higher priority. And just to forewarn you, I think it's the 20th, so we still got a ways to go. The sun will go into that for the solstice. Okay, now, Cancer is also a very sensitive sign. Leo is too, for getting your feelings hurt and that sort of thing. So just watch out. If you feel like you get your feelings hurt, maybe you're overreacting, and the same thing with other people. So do keep that in mind, that maybe just a little oversensitive. And especially after Mercury being conjunct in Jupiter and Gemini, that can be kind of bombastic. So we may wake up the morning of June 9th and kind of say to ourselves, what the heck did I get myself involved in? Because June 9th at about 4 in the morning, Mercury's going to square Saturn. So we may be in a place where we're like, when we wake up, oh my God, what did I commit myself to, right? And thinking, worrying about things and being a little pessimistic, and also just being Mercury squaring Saturn can also give us kind of a tunnel vision type thing. Now, and remember, don't try to cut corners or do things dishonestly, because Saturn will catch you up on that. Then what's interesting, just about 12 hours later, about 4 in the afternoon, Mercury's going to square Neptune. Now, this could be totally spacing something out. Okay, Mercury, the mind, Neptune, the most woo-woo of planets we have out there. So you may walk into work all worried about something that you promised to do and find out, oh my God, I totally forgot I have a meeting in 4 hours or 1 hour that I got to get ready for and have to run around. So just be prepared. There's going to be a little bit of this comeuppance with the Saturn, and this is going to be a pattern because these two are sticking together here for a while. So be prepared that we'll kind of get a little bit of the law may come down on us. We may be feeling kind of worried and unsure, and then it's like, oh geez, what just happened? I don't know. The Neptune energy may just make it sort of float away or put some gossamer over it, that type of thing. The other thing too with Mercury, the truth may just slip out. So you might kind of actually feel like the universe is playing games with you on this one, but just be aware that any kind of repressed emotions that, oh, I'm sorry, that's my phone. I'm going to have to put you on pause right quick. I apologize, but that was an alarm I had set for something else. Anyway, I won't bore you with it. Anyway, okay, where were we? All right, so just be aware if you do have repressed emotions, because that's what Saturn and Neptune can be about. If something comes out of your unconsciousness, it kind of blasts out, the 8th, 9th in particular, just be aware that your subconscious is trying to get your attention. It's trying to tell you about something. So if you do have some repressed emotions come out, pay attention and work on them. That's what they're all about. Saturn's going to help you out with that. Okay, now we're still on June 9th. That's when Venus, who's been in Taurus now for a while, is actually going to square Pluto. Okay, fixed air, fixed Earth. Okay, so Venus to Pluto. Now I really want to point this one out because Venus and Pluto kind of have an interesting relationship, I think, in general. I mean, you can imagine, Venus rules Taurus, but Pluto rules Scorpio. So there is this sensuality, this, sexuality, physical, that they have sort of in common, sort of reflecting one another. So we've got that energy in a square, so it's going to be a little bit difficult, okay? So this could be things like, since this is our financial axis, we may wake up Monday morning on the 9th and find out some pretty scary financial news, or something may be coming to a head or something like that. That'll be really interesting to see. Also, whenever I think of, Venus and Pluto together, I always think of the myth of Persephone, because that's when Pluto came up out of Hades. He grabbed Persephone from her mother, Ceres, the moon, and took her back down to Hades with him. So it is a pretty ruthless energy too. That sees what it wants and it takes what it wants. So again, this is maybe I'm being a mom here or whatever, but the weekend before this and a few days afterwards, but before that, for sure that weekend, just be conscious of what's going on out there. Take your mad money with you. Make sure you've got a ride home and the person and all that good stuff. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Oh, no. Okay, Venus square Pluto and secrets coming out. We've got Mercury and Jupiter here. Oops. If you have a secret relationship, like maybe you're dating somebody at work, but you want to make sure it's a thing before you kind of tell everybody, that secret might come up. If you're having any kind of adulterous affair, those secrets can come out either direction. So just watch out for that. And the thing about Pluto is it has this feeling of inevitability, that there's nothing we can do about it. It's sort of like that feeling of fate coming in. So if you find yourself getting involved in an illicit relationship, I would be really careful and really try to pull yourself out of that before it gets any deeper with this Venus square Pluto, okay? So just, take care of yourself, that's for sure. Because remember, Pluto is the Judgment card. Oh my God, that came into, did you see that? Focus? I'm shocked. Okay. So remember, we're all going to go through this judgment. We're all going to die and be in our coffins, and then Gabriel's going to call the horn, call us, and we're all going to go up to the next level, to the next dimension. Thank goodness, right? So I'll put Pluto over here. That's what that Pluto energy is. It can take you all the way down to death for you to rebirth, that sort of thing. Okay. Oh, and that thing with fate, let me just remind you guys of this too. Remember when during the I would say just like about 6 weeks around the election, Pluto, back in November 2024, Pluto went back in Capricorn, the sign of the tyrant, the dictator, that kind of thing. And what did we get with our election? So we'll see. But that was just, and I agree, there's a gal, I think her name's Autumn, and she has the orange and black tarot, and that's her theory too. Me too. That's how that happened. But anyway, okay. Let's see. So this, I think, finally gets us down to, no, there's still one other thing going on in here. On June 9th, Jupiter goes into Cancer, probably one of the most important things here. So this is now Jupiter's in the sign of the big mama, right? She wants to have family reunions and really wants to take care of everybody in the family. And remember, and also note that the moon does rule Cancer, but Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So remember, the rulership is where the planet is most at home. The exaltation is where the planet has the most power. Okay, so just to do a quick review here, as we're finally getting to June 11th, the full moon, and we've got that, I'm going to just put the sun up here. We've got the sun and moon in opposition, Sag to Gemini. Remember to review your intentions that you made at the new moon, because the sun's illuminating all that now. And this is your time to really get your greatest look at reality. Are those intentions, do you even want them to come true anymore? Do you still want to do that? Or have you changed your mind? Or maybe everything's going smoothly, which is really nice, okay? Now, Moon in Sagittarius, that is the comedian of the zodiac. I keep coming back to the orange one. He has a sun in, or the moon in Sag. Makes me very sad, but I guess people think he's funny. I don't know. I tried to listen to one of his talks back in 2016, and I couldn't figure out what he was saying. It didn't make any sense to me. Anyway, so watch out. So keep that in mind oh, and also with the moon in Sag, we want to go places. Sag is our international traveler, that sort of thing. Whereas the sun in Gemini, a little bit more wants to stay at home in the neighborhood. So you might end up, just read a good book that emotionally your moon takes you to a whole different place, right? And that might even be easier than going somewhere these days. Okay. Now, what we've got coming up then here is we're going to have, oh, and the other thing too is with that Jupiter being the ruler of Sagittarius, this motion of Jupiter going into Cancer becomes even more potent. And remember, come June 15th through the 18th, we're going to have Jupiter squaring Saturn and squaring Neptune. And like I said, we'll talk about that next time. But let's see. So what else do we have? We had Venus going into Taurus this past week. We've got Mars is going to go into Leo in June. And Uranus is going to go into Gemini in July. So lots is happening. Oh, and one more thing I want to mention before I forget it. This new moon, or full moon, excuse me, at 20 degrees here of mutable Sag, mutable Gemini, is going to be squaring the nodes that are at like, oh my goodness, that are like about, I would say about 23 degrees of Virgo Pisces. So what that means is we've got a grand square. Okay, look at this. All right, from Sag to Virgo, Gemini, Pisces. And since it's a mutable grand square, it moves a little bit easier. Like those fixed grand squares are pretty hard to get any action, any energy moving. But with this one, I'm going to take a couple of things off and make it easier to see that square. Just remember, this is going to be a balance between the future, the North Node, and the Pisces. You know, what do we want to do with this? Where do we want to go with balancing? Ooh, but I like my little house that I have. Why would I want more? And, the South Node, kind of keeping us in check, keeping us behind. Or in the past, I should say. And I just want to mention that when we have this Jupiter square Saturn next week, but it's the same, it's going to present kind of the same kind of energy. We're going to have Jupiter expansion going forward, Saturn, let's think about it. How did this work in the past? Should we keep going? So we've got two kinds of energy going here, but from different places, but are similar. And I wanted to point this out for two reasons, besides what's going on. But when you're looking at your own chart, look for things that are similar energies, but coming from different places. And what that means, that's going to make it even more powerful in your chart. For example, let's say you've got a moon in Sag, okay? So that's feminine energy in Sagittarius. But then let's say you also have Venus conjunct Jupiter. So this is feminine energy. This is Jupiter, the ruler of Sag. So you kind of have two places that this Saggy, Jupiter, feminine energy is coming from. So that makes it doubly important in your chart. So look for those things where you see a repetition of energy. And if you see it 3 times or more, woohoo, hang on. Okay, guys. Oh, I've talked certainly long enough here. And I think I've been meaning to try to make these videos 15 to 20 minutes. I think I better give up on that. So anyway, guys, but we'll see you next time. Bye! Just remember, from there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Bye!